Hello, this is Professor Wendy B. And in this brief video, I'm going to go over the requirements for your empirical study review or critique paper. That is one of the assignments that is due in this course in a few weeks. So come on, let's get started and I'll tell you what you need to do and what the expectations are. So our overview for today is first, I'm going to talk about the purpose of the assignment. Then I'm going to give a little bit of a background and talk a little bit about what an empirical study is. Then we'll break the assignment down by requirements. We'll look at the grading rubric. Then in just a minute or two, I am going to talk about the APA style that you need to use and some of the key APA requirements that I'll be looking for, and then we'll wrap things up. So, to begin, the reason why you are doing this study is that I am hoping that you will learn how to evaluate studies that you come across. Now, there's a lot of different places where we can get information from on the internet. And also through other sources in the library and bookstores and what have you. But how do you know if a study is an empirical study from a peer reviewed journal? What is it that makes the study an empirical study? So that's what the purpose of this assignment is. And then once you identify the empirical study, I want you to develop your critical thinking skills and I want you to analyze the methodology and the data and some of the work that the researchers did. And you are going to be able to determine if this study was a study that was sound or if there's some opportunities for improvement should the study be done again. So, what is an empirical study? Now, in the course, I also have a link to a video that goes into a little bit more detail about empirical studies and what to look for. So I do have the link posted over here as well. So you can copy that down if you wish and you want to watch that video when you're done with this one, you certainly can. But first, the study needs to be from a peer-reviewed journal. So that is an academic journal. And sometimes when you go into the library databases, it will tell you if it is peer-reviewed or not. So that's usually the first place that you can tell if yes, this is a good place to start. Secondly, there will be an abstract. It is not always labeled as an abstract. Sometimes it's just a paragraph in block indentation format that is located underneath the title and the author's names and before the text of the paper. Usually the abstract is followed by a line or two of keywords. The next section includes the methodology. Sometimes it's just labeled as methods. Depending on the format of the journal, other terminology may be used, or maybe it's just written without headings, but usually there's some sort of heading there that will tell you in this section you're going to learn about the methodology, and that's just going to include information about the participants, how the participants were selected, what measurements they used, did they use surveys, did they measure other things about the participants, and so forth. That will be followed by the data or results section. And this section usually has a lot of different types of statistics in it. So there may be some terms in there that you don't understand, a lot of numbers, maybe graphs and tables. And that's okay if you don't understand that all at this point because this is an introductory course. But the next section or one of the following sections is going to be the discussion section. And in the discussion section, this is where the authors are going to discuss the results. They're going to talk about whether or not their hypothesis was found to be true or was it found to be null and void. They may also talk about areas for improvement should they do additional research. So you can find all kinds of information in the discussion. And a lot of times it is labeled as discussion, but as I said with the other sections, sometimes you might have a different term that's used for that heading. And then finally, you're going to have a reference list. Now, there could be other sections too. Sometimes the authors will include some background information. Usually that's in between the abstract and the methods section. So if your study that you selected has all of these, but also has some additional items, that's okay. We just want to make sure that it is an empirical study from a peer-reviewed journal. Okay, so the requirements for this assignment is once you have your assignment selected and it is approved by me, and the reason why I like to approve the studies, one is to make sure it is an empirical study, and two, to make sure that it is at an appropriate reading level for this course, because sometimes there are studies out there that students, they're interested in the topic, but the studies come from medical journals and the information is just written at a medical school level and not for an introductory psychology course or a 1 or 200 level psychology course. So that's why I just need to approve it. And once you do that, after you read the study, in the paper that you write in your own words, you are going to summarize the hypothesis, the methodology, which is going to include the participants and the characteristics of the participants. You're going to summarize in your own words the results. And then in the last section, I want you to identify some strengths of the study. I also want you to identify some weaknesses, address any ethical concerns, and any areas for future research. Now, if you find a study that doesn't have any strengths, that's okay. Just make sure you put a statement in there that says, this author has not identified any strengths of this study, or, if there's no areas for future research, again, this author has not identified any areas for future research, and so forth. This way, I know you at least thought about it, and it's okay if your study doesn't have any of those, but I just need to know that you thought about it. You will also be using APA writing style, which means that you will also have a reference page and you will be using in-text citations. The grading rubric is available on your course learning management system. So that can be Canvas, Blackboard, whatever we are using for this course. And let's take a look at that grading rubric and a breakdown of the assignment. So this is how you will be graded, and you can also find a separate document with this in. It is either included in your syllabus or in a separate rubric section on your course learning management system. So the first part that you will be graded on is the introduction. So in your own words, you're describing what the article is about, what the researchers were studying. Um, I do not want to know why you selected it, because sometimes people do review studies and they're published in an academic journal, and that is what this paper is going to be like. So if you were publishing this in an academic journal, you would not write, I selected this topic because I was interested in blah, blah, blah. No, you're just going to start right off. Probably one of the best ways to start off is in the article titled, in quotation marks, put the title of the article by, and then just the author's last names. And then, as per citation requirements, you would then put the year of publication in parentheses after the author's last names. You would just summarize. So in the article, blah, 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 by Smith and Jones, in parentheses, 2022, the authors attempted to review or draw conclusions about blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's your introduction. The next section is going to be the methods that they use. So again, you're summarizing in your own words, but just like we cited the title and the authors in the introduction, make sure you carry your in-text citations throughout the paper. I know you didn't write this study, you didn't conduct this study, so you have to cite it, otherwise it is plagiarized, okay? And there are many resources for APA writing style requirements on your course learning management system that you can go to. And of course, you could always send me an email and I'm happy to help you with that. So after you summarize the methods section, you're going to summarize the results section. And then in your reaction section, this is where you're going to talk about those strengths and weaknesses, any ethical concerns, and any areas for future development. And I will tell you this, when students lose points for this assignment, most of the time it's because they don't do the reaction section the right way. You will also be graded on grammar and mechanics, and of course, APA style, and um, the citations, the in-text citations, and the references. Okay. So as far as APA writing style is concerned, I do have some additional videos and resources for that available to you, but I just wanted to point out that for this assignment, you are required to have a title page. Do not use a running head. You are a student. You are using the APA writing style requirements for student papers. So that is no running head, but you do need the page number on the title page. Then you will put the title of your paper followed by your name, your affiliation, your course number, course name, your professor's name, which is my name, and then the due date. So there are some examples on the resources that I have. The paper format is typically going to be in 10 or 12 point font with 1 inch margins, and there's a number of different fonts that you can use. Times New Roman is usually the go-to. Please make sure everything is double spaced, even the reference page. So the title page and reference page have to be double spaced. Um, Papers in APA style may require, some professors do require headings and subheadings. I am not requiring them for this paper, but you are more than welcome to use headings and subheadings throughout the paper if you want. So if you wanted to use the introduction, the methodology, results discussion, you certainly can do that, but I am not requiring you to do that for this paper. And as I said previously, you do need to use in-text citations, and you will also need to have the reference page. So reference page is only going to be one reference. It's just the article that you are referencing. And that's your assignment in a nutshell. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to review a draft copy of your assignment before you submit it. In that case, make sure you send it to me in an email, and in the subject heading, please write draft paper for review so I know what it is. As you know, I do not grade any assignments that are submitted via email. They all need to be submitted on your learning management system. They do go through the plagiarism checker, because that is very important that you do not plagiarize your paper. But as I said, I'm more than happy to review draft copies, and those I would expect you to send to me through email. So I look forward to reading your papers, and as always, don't hesitate to reach out, and have a wonderful rest of the day.